Hello and welcome once again to India Today's Davos Brainstorm, where we are joined by a very special guest. He's someone who's been familiar to global audiences for decades now. He is the one and only Richard Quest, business editor at large at CNN. Wonderful to have you.
Well, delighted to be here. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us. What's the sense you're getting from Davos this time? Because it is unusual, isn't it, that geopolitics is dominating the World Economic Forum perhaps like never before. You've been here 25 years.
No. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Geopolitics has dominated Davos most years.
Yes.
The difference is the mechanism by which it's dominating, which is through the sheer brute force of the US president. So the fact that everybody here is all betwixt and between in terms of an issue of geopolitics, whether it be China or India or European or whatever. Remember, we had the European sovereign debt crisis here. We've had Middle East crises here. So that's not new. What is new is the way in which the United States has shifted its own abilities, its own force of power here.
Sure, but have you seen anything quite like it, where an individual like President Trump comes in, berates the European allies, almost suggests to them that if the Americans hadn't intervened in World War II, we'd be speaking German and Japanese, that kind of language used against NATO allies. Isn't it a disruption of the world order very different to what, Richard, used to happen in the past?
Yes, that is. That is certainly different, and that is unique to 2026, that we've never really had somebody, I mean, we've had people giving polemic speeches, we've had people being aggressive, but look, the issue here is not what Donald Trump said or how he said it. The issue is, the underlying issue is what Mark Carney talked about, the Prime Minister of Canada, the rupture in the Transatlantic alliance. That's what this is all about, and that's what the issue is. It is about the fact that the US and Europe, having been on the same side for 70, 80 years, appear to have a fundamental disagreement now that could tear it apart.
And how will it affect global business if these two allies who have stuck together through good times and bad for more than 7 decades now find it in this blow hot, blow cold relationship, more hot than cold? What does it do to global business, Richard?
Oh, that's easy. Christine Lagarde told me that. It creates uncertainty, and it creates a level of uncertainty that we've not seen before. And the significance of that uncertainty, if you take, for example, the debt crises or the Middle East crises or the China chip crisis or anything like that, in the past you'd have had the US and Europe coming together to discuss what to do about it and coming up with a common approach, or at least not a contradictory approach. Here, you have the two sides that should be discussing collaboration, actually discussing confrontation. And that's what makes it difficult. That's what creates the uncertainty. And ultimately, that's what will damage the business environment. And that's what people are saying here. And that's why everybody's so concerned.
So is that the big, as you said, that's what people are concerned, that uncertainty, political uncertainty, let's call it geopolitical uncertainty, will eventually affect the economic environment, where in uncertain times, look at India itself, markets are wobbling all the time, up and down, 1,000 points down just a couple of days ago. Is this something now that's built into the system? Should we get used to this level of uncertainty?
India's a good example. India's a very good example because you've had a certain level of political stability.
And macroeconomic stability as well.
Absolutely, but then you had the 25% and the increased tariffs as a result of Russian oil, which the Prime Minister understandably was unable to, as he said, I could do some things, but I can't deal with that. Therefore, India's business has to... Look, you're asking me about the transatlantic disruption. Look no further than your own backyard. You have got a level of disruption on Indian-US business that you've not seen before. But things are carrying on. Leaders from the EU are visiting India, China. new links are being created, and this is the rewiring of the global trade order that we are seeing in front of our very eyes. This is not some esoteric academic discussion. It's happening, and it's happening now.
And what will be the pivot of this new order? Will it be China, as some suggest, or will it be, as you say, countries diversifying and striking bilateral trade deals rather than relying on any kind of multilateral stable trade order? Is that what we're going to increasingly see even in the world of business? Countries striking deals in their mutual benefit, as India could with the EU in a few days from now?
Absolutely. That's good. That pivot and the strands that follow it will be multifarious. So Ngozi of the WTO, the World Trade Organization, she told me 70% of trade in the world is still happening on WTO terms, most favored nation. So it's not disappeared. The only difference that's happening now is that a lot of new trade, a lot of new arrangements are bilateral, not multilateral. They are circumventing the United States, and new trade relations are being built. Now, is this desirable? That's not for you or me to say. That's for others to judge. We only look and we spot and we comment. But that is what is happening. India is a prime example. The countries that are visiting India, that are attempting to do deals, the way the Indian government is looking out new partners while it tries to work out what is the price to get rid of those extra US tariffs. And is that a political price that the Prime Minister can pay?
So in conclusion, as we look ahead to the next 12 months, if you're back in Davos a year ago, and lots of our viewers are wondering, how should they navigate the next 12 months? What would you suggest? Should they simply press the pause button, hedge their bets? What should they be doing?
You see, I still have the shirt on my back.
Yes.
That's because I don't answer that sort of question. It's up to individuals to decide what they do. I think the only certainty of which we can be certain is the level of disruption and uncertainty will continue.
And there's one other theme which is dominating Davos this time, which is AI and the uncertainty and supposed disruption that artificial intelligence is causing. Some believe it's going to be dramatically transformative. Others see it as a bubble. How are you seeing it?
It's both.
It's both.
Of course it is. It's what Mohammed Al-Arian describes as a rational but inevitable bubble. It's perfectly rational that this new hyper-productive tool is going to create gross new productivity. But we don't know how long, we don't know the level of its productivity, we don't know its profitability, and we don't know its timescale. But we know it's coming. So the bubble is there, the bubble is inevitable. However, as with all bubbles, when it finally deflates or pops, it will be disruptive, it will be unpleasant. But this idea of irrational of this is wrong. There's a rationality to what's happening with AI because of it's not transformative, it is revolutionary in what it's going to do.
I have to press you.
You said you don't want to discuss what I know you're running out of time. 12 months from now, do you believe that we are entering a phase of this prolonged uncertainty, or do you believe that there will come a time when business confidence within the next 12 months will slowly get restored?
I think this uncertainty remains.
The uncertainty remains.
Yeah. Now, whether it becomes hyper uncertainty, minor uncertainty, a bit of indigestion, crisis and panic, who knows? But I think that it remains absolutely.
One of the few
certitudes, though, is that Richard Quest will always be there around.
Absolutely.
What keeps you going, Richard? I must find out that magic potion that keeps you excited and enthralled all the time and excited with
it's easy. Have a good breakfast. The most important meal of the day, breakfast. Never miss it. Never miss breakfast. I don't care if I've got a 4 a.m. flight. I'll get up earlier to have breakfast.
Can I give you some advice?
An Indian breakfast is even better than a British breakfast. Try it.